that was crazy. You know, that was the good.
All right, I'm going to start jumping for joy. All right, good afternoon. How's everyone doing? Awesome. Hey, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Especially with all the hot topics going on right now with NAR, right? It's pressing hot topic. The last week has been exhausting. Very exhausting. Just trying to navigate this, obviously, answer agents' questions and concerns. But at the end of the day, you know, my thoughts and opinion, and leadership is going to talk about it, is we're going to be fine. Okay, you've got to build the mentality, build the muscle. And really to succeed at a very high level, obviously, it's the skill sets that we need. So we've got a lot of information that we're going to provide. But before we do, obviously, next slide, let's get going. Our mission is to provide agents with a place where they will be empowered, trained, motivated to experience growth, wealth, and the legacy that allows them to live their best life possible. Our belief, when the values of your own company align with your own beliefs, you know you found your professional home. And our vision to achieve amazing professional, personal development so that KWSouth remains the agency. Round of applause. Before we go into the hot topic, I want to bring in Chris Rivera. He wanted to spearhead a couple updates on us. So let's give Chris a round of applause.
Yes, we got this. New logo. All right, so a couple things. Natalie, can you go to the next slide? Not sure which thing we're talking about first. Yes. So just a reminder, this Saturday is our first time home buyer seminar. We're pitching the Drink for All program. I came out here and gave you guys a training a couple weeks ago. We've got quite a number of people who've lined up already. I've got a lot of RSVPs that hit back already. Just making that final push. It is Saturday at 10:30 here in the office. Want to really make a big splash. So if you want to come, just participate. Even if you don't have a client, you go ahead and come on down. Because the more people we get here, it just makes it for a better experience for all, right? Because then the clients that do come feel like they're part of something really big. So again, that's going to be Saturday at 10:30. So hopefully all of you guys can make it. Now we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Part of switching over to Arbor is the fact that I've got so many more programs that are available to us. As I told you last week, one of the good things is there's no overlays from the direct end lender through the mortgage company, where they say, okay, well, we have that program, but we're going to overlay some certain stipulations that we don't like, right? So there's a program that's been around for a while. I'm sure you guys have seen it. They're called bridge loans, right? But the thing is, they're kind of clanky and expensive to the client. But the problem is qualifying. Because maybe you can access the funds, but the problem is now the client has to actually qualify for all the mortgages. So Natalie, can you go to the next slide? So there's a program that I found that's pretty unique. Now, it's really designed for the buyer to be able to buy a home before they sell it. Now, how does it work? Well, it's going to allow you not to have to write a contingent offer because they're going to get the funds up front to use for the down payments, right? And the great thing is the DTI is not going to be affected because what truly happens is lender is going to set up an equity line on their existing home, pull cash out, use that cash then for their down payment on their leg up, right? And we all know it. There are people who bought homes, say in North Torrance. They may have bought 5+ years ago. They bought it $500,000, put 20% down. They had a $400,000 loan, and over time, because they refinanced, they got a very low rate. But their current principal balance is about $350,000, right? But the house is worth about $1 million. The problem is, how do they take the money out to buy the next purchase because they want to move into Redondo Beach, right? But they can't. But they have a lot of equity, and then they have kids. They really can't sell the home, then where are they going to go, right? So these are obstacles that you guys face, and I know that. So this program will allow us to use the equity and exclude the mortgage payments from the DTI, so it allows them to buy. They're going to set an equity line up to 75% combined lend to value. They'll go with 80%, but that's on a case by case. They don't want to pitch that, but 75% is what they can tap out. So now we'll go to the next slide. So we're gonna use that same scenario where that borrower owns $1 million home. That's their current home, and they're gonna put it on the market. They are gonna sell, but they're just not gonna sell before they buy, right? So we know that it's worth $1 million. The lender is gonna do an ABM so that they know kind of the range based on that address. They know it's worth $1 million. They're gonna go combined loan to value of 75%, which is 750,000 combined loans. And they owe on the first 350. That's gonna allow them to tap into $400,000 worth of equity unlocked for them to use for the down payment. Now what they're going to do is you shop contingency free, right? Because they don't have to sell before they buy. They've got the money in hand. They're going to now be able to go up to a $2 million purchase. With that $400,000 you just tapped out, put 20% down, and they have a loan amount of 1.6. The beauty is this investor will allow that seller to recast their loan after they sell their old home. Now, what does that mean? That means they currently have a mortgage after of 1.6, right? And then they sell their North Florence home. And they didn't sell it because they listed it with you guys. They didn't sell it for $1 million. They sold it for $1.1 million, right? So the combined loans were 750. Now they're getting the rest of their funds, which is 1.1 plus 7 or minus 750, which is another 350,000 cash in hand, right? They can use that money and apply it to their principal balance and have a lower principal balance, recast that loan at that interest rate and have a lower monthly payment. It's crazy that this program will do that and not hit that client for the DTI on their current home.
Am I reading that correct? Zero interest on the bridge loan, on the equity line between the time you take the loan out and by the time you pay it up?
That's right. That's right.
So what's the interest rate after it's all said and done though?
It's actually market rate.
So that's actually market rate.
Market rate. Right.
But that's good because there's zero interest on the.
On the HELOC, exactly.
Right.
Now, there's a cost for this, so we'll get that to that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So what are we losing? Can you purchase a multifamily if you're selling a regular, let's say, small home, but they want a multifamily because maybe
And
they're.
you can purchase whatever you want. That's a unique question. Ask me afterwards, because I know you guys a lot of time for your
30 seconds.
yeah. But yes, you can do that. So, all right, so you guys found out 0% interest, that's huge, right? So now you can buy it and then you sell the property, and now you can go to the last slide. So this allows them, actually, I think that's it. This allows them to do,
What if they change their mind and they don't sell? And they keep the house?
then they're gonna have to refinance.
What about if they flip?
They flip what?
They do this, they buy the other house, fix it and flip, and then they never sell the original house.
There's probably people who are gonna game the system. True. But that's not what it's designed for. It's designed for that person that has equity, can't tap into it, buy the next one. This allows them to do it. So it's a great program. Anyway, if I know all of you guys have clients like this, have them give me a call. Let me show them how they can tap into their equity at 0% interest on an equity line to be able to purchase and then recast if they have to. Yes, Shannon.
Is the fee attached to the purchase?
It's attached to the purchase, yes. So this is why it's a 0% interest on the equity line. They're gonna charge them 2.25% off of the sale of their North Florence home, right? Now it says, okay, $2.25 million, it's 22.5. Sound like a lot? It's not really, because the equity line that they set up at 0%, it's a 6-month term. Now, typical equity lines are about 10%. So if they tap out $400,000 on the equity line, 10% of 400,000 is 40 grand. So half the year would be 20 grand. So the cost of the equity line is really the cost of what it's going to take to do the program, right? And they know that. So the investors are like, you know what, we'll do this because we'll go ahead and front the money and we're going to win some or break even. But the whole thing is designed to get more loans. Lenders want more loans. So this is a program for them to get more loans and not really hit the consumer with too much because they are getting the equity line for free. Okay, any questions?
Okay.
All right, guys, I'm gonna let you guys get to the nitty gritty of the north stuff.
We definitely have a full house. We got about 35 people on this, and a full house here. So thank you very much. Obviously, this is a hot pressing topic, and we wanted to be on the forefront of it. So if I can get Manny in here to share his insights, and we're, obviously working on building a task force as well, something that Manny was talking about at the Long Beach office. So take it away, Manny.
I was supposed to have the fun slides today, talking about the vision and the market and the stats, but we have this fun stuff as well. But it's actually not just important, it's also exciting. Am I the only person who's excited about this? NAR thing? But it's only because you don't understand exactly what's happening, right? So this is like my fourth or fifth kind of presentation, if you may, about the same thing, because we all need to be experts in this matter, not just because we're, our livelihood depends on those changes, but it's also the majority out there, the consumer, need us to tell them exactly what this means. Okay, so we have to better improve our skill set of understanding what it is. Now, anybody confused about this whole NAR stuff? I'm confused. Okay, so if you raise your hand, you guys are experts, correct? Okay, so once again, anybody confused about what's going on? Okay, this is gonna confuse you even more. And it's gonna confuse you even more because they run so fast, right? To settle this, which is, by the way, shout out to NAR because they actually did a good job with this settlement. They're, secondary to KW, to Gary. They're the first to settle this to protect us KWs. This is for us, the realtor community. Okay, so this isn't about just KW. There's a lot of confusions. Hey, KW, it's different than what's happening over here. This is us, the realtor community, right? And they already did a great job. And I'm going to break it down. The issue is when, and I'm not an attorney, I'm not an expert in the field, but when you run to sell something really, really, really fast, in that size, you don't think about all the small pieces. Okay, so if there are like whatever 5 to 10 different bullet points for this, 10 exits, that's how many loopholes there are currently. Okay, now between now and mid-July, I'm going to talk about that, and between now and January 2025, talk about that as well. There's enough time for us to build a strategy to understand what we need to do with CAR, with NAR as well. So we're not in this alone, we're in this together with another few millions of professionals to try to understand what this means. So next slide, please. Yes. All right. So the first thing you have to understand is that the settlement is between NAR and the whoever sued, and it's also gonna basically include all the realtors because we have NAR members, and also all the MLSs that are owned by different associations. Okay, so for example, if you are with CRISNET, which is the Southern Regional, the Valley MLS, that's going to be covering those guys, right? Not sure if the SARE MLS, I believe it's independent MLS, right? They can choose to opt into the settlement. They don't have to. I'll tell you what it is in a second. Most likely because the size of their transactions, and they probably want to be protected naturally, they're going to choose to opt in to this settlement. But they don't have to. It's an option if they're privately owned. So all the MLS houses, basically, they have that option to opt in if they're not association owned. With the association, they're going to be part of this settlement. And again, it's going to hit mid-July, and something is going to hit next year. Next slide, please. So raise your hand if you ever had your buyer sign buyer broker agreement. Okay, and raise your hand if you thinking about it, and you try, it didn't work, you got any, I at some point, not you guys are so good. Okay, never, yeah. That's gonna be mandatory. Okay, so
For broker or for,
hold on, that's gonna be mandatory, okay, most likely effective January 2025. And by the way, in about, Brandon, where's Brandon? No, Brandon, how many states? 13? 12 states right now, it's already mandatory, okay? Some of the things I'm gonna tell you, though, it's already happening around California and around the country. I'm just gonna talk about us Californians only, okay? So most likely, and also according to Gal Hutchinson, right, the CR Council, he said most likely January. The buyer broker agreement is gonna be mandatory. It's not gonna be, hey, do you feel like? No. However, it's gonna be mandatory before to sign it, before you're showing a buyer a home that it's on the MLS. Loophole number one, I told you there's about 100 loopholes. I'm only gonna give you like 5. Loophole number one, only a house that is on the, that's the legal language, on the MLS. So question, if it's under the MLS, we have to have them signed by broker agreement. Most likely not. However, what do you want to confuse yourself? If you're gonna start to, if you have to practice that in that capacity, some of you already raised your hand, some of you already raised your hand again? Yeah. That right now, working with buyer broker agreement, you guys are from the future. Right? You guys are from the future. I mean, here with us right now, doing what all of us will have to do in about 6 months, 7 months, 8 months from now. Right? So you guys gonna have a little bit of easy life. What I do recommend, it's a recommendation because we didn't do it mandatory yet, start to practice today. Anybody got a call from their buyers or sellers asking about what's happening? Anybody? Right? I got a call last Friday from one of our agents in the, in different office, all panicking. She says, Manny, I had my buyer sign 2.3, 2.4 mil listing in Encino Hills. That was on Tuesday. Today's Friday. He calls me and said, hey, I saw the news yesterday. Should we put the house off the market for a few months until I can, understand what's happening? Because I'm okay not to pay this extra percent to the buyer's agent. So, do you want to know what the script was, the cover script? I'll tell you in a second, you have to stay the whole meeting. But I will tell you, because I'm going to tell you also what we're going to do for you guys, how we're going to win this together, okay? That's why I said this is exciting. This is exciting to better improve our skill set and also to make more money because we're going to help more people, right? Question?
yes, the confusion is basically not, is 50% with the buyers, but my confusion is when I sit down and take a $3.5 million, this guy wants to sell his house in 30 days. And now I'm gonna say to him, well, I'm only gonna charge you 3% to sell your house. Or am I gonna charge you 5% because I have to pay the broker's commission? And he's gonna say, well, I don't have to pay the selling agent's commission. Okay, so now.
Can you hold that thought because you're jumping 2 sides ahead? Thank you, I appreciate that. But you're on the money, so hold that thought. Back to this point is you won't have any options but sign this agreement. Now, buyer rep agreement, there's 2 ways to have it executed. Exclusive and non-exclusive. You probably want to go for the exclusivity, okay? Unless maybe you just don't understand your value. So advantage number 1 is it's going to force us, the realtor community, to remind or create our value proposition to the community that start understanding what is our value. There's definitely a gap in the value that they perceive because we just got sued. Why? Because they don't think we're worth that money. Is this new, by the way? It's not new. It's been going for a long time. And there are companies out there, the Zillows of the world, etc., that came out there because they don't think that we are as valuable, right? So, by the way, I think personally that we are underpaid.
So do I.
So this is an opportunity. I'll talk about Jim, about your point in a second. So, you have to explain to them and give you another analogy. This is not a coaching class, but it's just one point that you have to understand because there's a lot of questions around those subjects. Next slide, please. When there are two main points, right now the buyer's agent hat. We'll talk about the seller agent hat in a second. When you have that hat and you need to go and have them sign the buyer agreement, there's only really 2 points you need to talk about or focus on when it comes to value prop is what I'm gonna do for you, Mrs. Buyer, right? Like, why do you want to hire me? We mostly have this conversation today when on the listing side. Why you should hire me, right? On the buyer side, it's kind of like we lost the skill set. We got none. Okay, now this won't happen. So that's the first thing for them to understand why they should hire you. And I'm going to give you an analogy that's also going to touch about the second part only, which is the compensation. So the concept, the idea of the buyer broker agreement, besides the exclusivity, right, is what? What are you doing? What do you do? What do you give to the buyer?
Your service,
Your service and what else?
Your knowledge.
your time, your knowledge.
Fiduciary as well, right? We're responsible to what's happening, right? Again, we only think we only think about the seller side of the time. Okay, that's going to change our dynamic and our relationship with the buyer community.
What about negotiation?
So it's all the skills that you offer up 100%. So you touch on the good point, which is the second part is, and oh, by the way, yes, the 29% is what you're gonna compensate me for my work, my effort. But because I'm such a good negotiator, I will do my very best to have the seller pay for those costs. I'll do my very best. Okay? And I'll give you an example. I don't, heavily go after business, only when they reach out to me, my little sphere. So I sold the house in Encino for 1.3 last September. And the guy is from the Bay Area, moved here from this company. I'm sending the buyer broker agreement, send conversation, hey, this read it through, you have any questions, ask me. Basically, it's full fiduciary. If I hear, see something, I gotta disclose to you, I'm yours, right? And look at the I think paragraph, what is it, 3 something, right? The 20% is what you're gonna pay me, but I'm a really good negotiator, and I'm gonna have the seller pay me the compensation. Number one. Number two, I added, and you can write this down because it's gonna be part of your new future education, but it's nothing new. I added the SPVB. SPVB. Anybody know what the SPVB stands for?
No.
Seller of payments to buyer's broker. By the way, that's September of 2023. Okay, and the SPVB, you can only use it if you have an executed buyer's broker agreement. Paragraph 3, it's always paragraph 3, says the seller agrees to pay buyer's broker whatever percent. I put 29%. My buyer signed it, seller signed it. It's offsetting whatever the buyer is supposed to pay you on the buyer broker agreement. So far, so good. That's September of last year. By the way, this is the future. So some of us been practicing this for quite some time.
So that's all we got to do is put everything in writing. That's what you're saying.
So exactly. So what's happening? Okay, so time out on that part. Okay. By the way, did you learn something new? At least one thing. Okay. So here's the second part. Exactly. More forms to fill out. The second thing is this. Here's what's going to happen mid-July. It's already happening throughout the country already. And I saw 2 weeks ago a listing in Orange County for $0 compensation, 0% compensation. So the MLS has already started to change, changed the field of the CSC, the broker compensation. So you have to put at least $1 or a cent or something. Now you can put 0. Mid-July is going to completely go away most likely. You won't even have that field because you don't need it anymore. Why? We cannot publish anymore on the MLS how much compensation we are to pay the sellers to pay to the buyer's broker or the agent.
Because it doesn't exist.
Because it's gonna be illegal to do so. Now, okay, Benny, so how do I go about it? All right? There are gonna be two ways to go about it. Okay? Next slide, please. The first is old school. You pick up the phone and well, I give a different setup because it's gonna be this experiment as well. Your buyer calls you and she says, hey, I saw this home on Zillow. She doesn't have it. And, right? And not your agent, your buyer. And I want to see it. What do you say? Sure, absolutely. Yeah. By the way, personally, I always encourage buyers to go online. You know why? Let them do the heavy lifting. Because they're gonna do it anyway. Don't discourage them. Tell them, go and see. I'm gonna send you a list of websites. Go to all of them every day. Do those searches and whatever. If you see something, send it to me. Two reasons. Number one, most likely I know the listing agent. I have a relationship with them. But I can pretty almost 100% guarantee that I know the company they work for, which is most likely correct. Maybe not about the agent, but the company, most likely, you know, the brokerage, the brand. Make sense? Right. So they do it for me. And then that's how, by the way, in Sina, I told you that's how I sold. He called me and I did the whole, I just didn't do much, right? 4 transaction money. Do the math. And you're gonna call the listing agent, you're gonna say what? Hey Gary, congratulations on your 1-3 Main Street listing. And then what are you gonna ask? Thank you. You say, how much are you gonna pay? You see, in the old days, up until 5 minutes ago, it was, how can I show the property to my buyer? Right?
Now your script is gonna be different.
So you see, it depends. And I'll tell you when in a second. That's the integrity of our community and how we can make this work even better to our benefit. The first question you're gonna ask is, I'm gonna congratulate Gary for his new listing, right? Is gonna say, how can I make an appointment for my buyer to see the property? Because the guy just hired you, signed with you a buyer broker agreement. You owe that fiduciary. Make sense? Your realtors in this room over here, you have a little bit of a higher standard than the average person who's not the realtor. The second question, if the listing agent won't tell you, which they should tell you because put now the listing agent has, before the other person should ask you if the listing agent, you should say, oh, by the way, the seller is gonna offer 2.5, and this is an example, 2.5 or 3% or whatever compensation to any buyer's agent is gonna bring the buyer. You probably wanna ask me, so here I'm telling you right now.
But you cannot state that in the listing, am I correct?
So, no, you cannot. So you have to ask the question, but don't make this the first question. Because if now I'm the listing agent and I can smell your commission breath over the phone, the chances for us to work together, I'm already stressing out because I have to keep negotiating on your behalf, on the buyer agent, the population, your commission, like I've done the last 30 years. You see what's happened? You understand what happened the last 30 years or so? Right? That we made the buyer's agent lazy on the negotiation portion of how much I'm going to get paid because we already did that this part for them. That's correct. That's going to go away. So on any provision of the MLS, public remarks, private remarks, any remarks, you cannot put most likely, again, the fine print was not spelled out yet, but most likely, you cannot put how much the compensation will be. It's got to be over the phone, email, text, any kind of form of communication to understand, hold on, what will be the compensation. Now, okay, Manny, but now what? So you told me, but you know, part of your RPA, when you submit the offer, there's got to be full transparency. Next slide, please. Full transparency on all sides, four parties in most cases, buyer, seller, buyer's agent, listing agent, about the compensation that the seller is agreeing and the buyer agreeing to pay to the buyer's agent. By the way, it's pretty much what's happening right now. Because with the only difference that the listing agent already did the negotiation in advance, right? Because you take the 5% as an example, and you say, hey, the RLA, I think it's also paragraph 3, 2.5% to the buyer's agent. Okay. Now you cannot really do that. You have to explain the seller. And now let's put this listing agent hat for a second. Why I think you should invest in the buyer's agent commission. I'll give you like only one example. Okay. You can pay, and by the way, I appreciate you, Mr. Seller, doing your investigation and figuring out this whole equation of vast realtor community. Good job. Let me ask you a question. 2 questions actually. First question is, if you want to cut all the, let's talk about our little territory, all the 25,000 buyer's agents from exposing and promoting your house to their buyers. You're only going to make it harder for me and to any listing agent in town to sell a property for the top. Okay, that's what.
There's another side to this because a smart seller.
Sure.
Here's what I'm going to say.
Please.
Let me just say on this because I'm looking at this like an attorney. I'm putting what my legal experience
Go ahead.
past is that a seller. That's why I asked you about those clauses in the private remarks. The seller's going to say, "Hey, state on my listing that I'm going to pay the buyer's agent 2.5% commissions because right now everybody's excluding the buyers. I'm going to get more of those buyers that are looking that the real estate agents are looking at the other things and there's no buyer's commission and they have to start negotiating with all these paperwork and everything. When I could put in my private remarks, so I could say that's the disclosure of material fact that my seller." So there's a little conflict of.
So hold on. So hold on, because we're different path. Okay, so hold on, folks. You cannot put on any remarks, seller is agreeing to pay whatever. You cannot do that. That's going to be the new law. You can say, call listing agent to talk about compensation. Okay.
Okay, so
That's what I said. That's what I said earlier. Yeah. But when you're going to have this conversation, after you really seek for the benefit of the buyers, then talk about that. But as I said, if you're the listing agent, well, you're going to be there at some point, be one step ahead and say, oh, by the way, this is what the compensation.
So what if the seller says I want it in the remarks?
Now, yeah, please.
I'm just saying.
It's going to be illegal. Okay, yes, you're going to go to federal jail. So don't do that. So, but one more thing I want to say. One more thing I want to say about that. Okay.
I got it covered.
Yeah. One more thing about I can handle it. It's fine. One more thing about that is this. Look, here's the second part. Raise your hand if you ever sold the house to a seller's house. Listen, if you ever sold the listing, raise your hand. Oh, right. Keep your hand up. Keep your hand up. If you also help the seller, to find a home of choice. Keep your hand up. Okay. Second question to Mr. Seller. So you want to cut the buyer's in, right? You want to cut the commission? Okay. Right now we're looking for a house view, correct? Right. Who's going to pay my commission? Who's going to make that one? Yeah. A, B, C, or D. D, go to A. But you see the loopholes over here, so it goes back to value proposition. So if you can express your value, like why you should hire me, hey, what should you even hire me to do, right? It's going to be more than just the commission piece. Kevin?
So this is pretty much getting rid of the dual agency.
We'll talk about what you see in a second. Yes and no. Okay. Good point. Thank you for putting this out. So hold that thought for a second. Okay. Simon, do you want to insert something?
Yeah, so just to kind of piggyback on what Manny and everything Manny is saying, it's spot on, the documents such as the buyer representation agreement, the CB cooperative compensation agreement,
Next slide, please.
the anticipated broker compensation disclosure, the seller payment of buyer broker agreement, right? All of these are all gonna be modified.
Next.
Comes December of this year, CAR is gonna modify because there's specific language in here that doesn't coincide to what's going on right now with settlement. So right now, just rest assured, you know, as we get in the trenches of all this, you know, all of the contracts are gonna be specific to what our needs and wants and how we articulate the conversation with our buyers.
Okay, now, here's another point. My name is Jim, and I gotta find a solution how to put it somewhere, right? But- Well, there's one thing you can do. Not with MLS. You can put the compensation publicly in your website, on your website. Aha. Okay, you can, the brokerage, if there's a way to do it, on the websites. Now, it's not in the fine print yet, but if I had to, you know, guess, right, or just for the sake of this conversation, if you can put it on the website, you can find also do it on social media, do a little, you know, TikTok, and YouTube, and you know, Instagram, you know, video, whatever, because it's not on the MLS, right? That's a big very problem. Okay, so yeah, 1 and 2, yes.
So you can't put a broker compensation.
Speak up a little bit.
You can't put a broker compensation out on the MLS to the cooperating broker.
Yes.
But can the seller say that they're willing to pay concessions for the buyer?
One more slide, hold that thought, yes.
Can we do it on like flyers and marketing materials? Can we do it for this?
I don't know, but I assume yes, because it's not on the MLS. It just says specifically not on the MLS. Yes, Gary?
Now, you're gonna have shrewd sellers that they feel like this is a heyday for them. Sure. Now, I'm not gonna pay, I'm just paying your commission. So I think we need to handle that objection.
What, yeah, 100%. I'll tell you what we're gonna form over here. You part of it too. Just don't know it yet. It goes back to value proposition, right? And by the way, when you take a listing, look at test number 2. How much commission you supposed to take?
As much as you want, because it's last.
Smart people, thank you, because usually most rooms, 5%. Commissions in California are not regulated. So you can take listing for 10%, 15, 30, or nothing more than 5 normally, right? For now, so it's also about the negotiation. Comment?
I think it's important for everyone to realize that the main part of this lawsuit, the main reason for this lawsuit is an antitrust lawsuit.
Yeah.
And there are agents, and maybe you're one of them.
Next slide.
To Penny's point, you tell the seller what the fee is gonna be for everything. But in fact, that's part of the lawsuit. And so that's why these things are not gonna be allowed in the MLS. This is why there's more opportunity than you realize if you understand your value proposition. But you need to understand the why so that it'll help you come up with reasoning for yourself to make the changes that you need to make.
Spot on, yeah, thank you. So one more thing is, just to put a closure on that piece. After you understand, you learn, right? And by the way, even if you see the website, it's website, you see on their, you know, TikTok, whatever, oh, that's a position. Pick up the phone or whatever, you know, should I put it to communicate, congratulate them, set it up and confirm what it is. After you confirm, and oh, by the way, on the buyer side, when you call and say congrats, my buyers, John and Jenny Mitchell, want to see, always disclose the buyer's names, leave a paper trail, right? And of course, follow with a text or an email, full disclose who the buyers are. Number 1, just to make sure that they know who the buyers are. Number 2, at this point, you already covered because you have a buyer broker, you know, exclusive sign, so you should be fine. But just in case, because you have no risk and no reason to fear about someone's gonna steal your client, right? But then, after you get confirmation, you're gonna do this email just in case. Part of the whole package, opening package, or the purchase agreement, etc., is all disclosures that breaks down the commission that was agreed upon to begin with. right? And someone gonna say, one word about the ABC of the ABCD.
So, a lot of the stipulation that we're seeing
Next slide.
regarding how we are gonna be submitting offers, it's, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, it's gonna be obviously a negotiating tool, right? Because it's not gonna be promoted on the MLS, and most information is obviously through, third-party sites, right? So when you submit an offer, you immediately are gonna be having a conversation, just like Benny said, right? You know, what's gonna be the compensation, right? The compensation is gonna be 2.5%, whatever it is. But can you also negotiate that higher or lower? The answer is yes, you can. You definitely can. You can ask for more commission. As a matter of fact, there's a form called the cooperating broker compensation that has a stipulation paragraph that says what? Modification of commissions, right? Okay, so that means you can ask for more. How many times have you submitted the CBC and actually got more than what they're offering?
Mhm.
I've been one. You don't ask, you won't receive, right? So it's not gonna be any different. We're just going to have to add additional language and build the momentum of your skill levels. No difference when you go on the listing, right? When you go on a listing agreement, right, you need to know exactly how you're gonna position yourself with other real estate professionals, right? That are actually also wanting to get the listing too. What's gonna set you apart from all other agents? Well, it's the same component as a seller. Now you're just gonna transition and pivot into having the same conversation with the buyer. And
Oh,
So, I mean, my understanding is that if you fill out on the buyer broker representation agreement, right, that you're gonna get paid a certain percentage. You can't get paid more than that, right?
No.
Yes, you can.
you can get paid.
So go back to the SPDB, right? It took me only 2 months to memorize the SPDB. If the seller agrees to pay you, let's say, just for example, 3%, okay? So it offsets whatever, you know, so yeah, you can get paid more than that. That's on the buyer responsibility. You can say the buyer will pay you only 1%. Hey, seller, can you also pay me 1%? Can you pay me 2%? I'm not gonna pay 2.5. You see the game? Now, I'm gonna, sorry, the question should be the other one.
It wasn't a question, it was more a comment.
Okay,
I'm
is it good comments?
bombarded with so many phone calls and so many text messages about this very topic. And someone told me just today, says, this is gonna totally affect your business. I was like, it is? Really? Well, isn't it? Because I don't have to pay a commission for the selling. I'm like, well, let me ask you a question. Are you gonna hire the best agent to represent you on the sale? Yeah. Do you think someone's not gonna hire the best agent to do the buy? How is that gonna affect?
So,
That commission is relative.
so I'm gonna touch 2 points, which is my last part, some of the slides, because I didn't want to talk about that yet, but again, it's extremely confusing. And it's all, we're gonna leave it in a gray area for a minute, right? 2 things that Chris and Kevin mentioned. Chris first, which is about concessions. Okay, concessions are not new. Setup concessions can be used towards what? Closing costs, buy down. What else? Repairs. Good news. Good news. Also towards buyer's agent commission. You know how much? All of it. All of it. Gotta be agreed upon from the very beginning. So let's say you sold the house for 1 million for your buyer. And I know 2.5% is what is that? 25,000. Seller concession can be 25,000. Right, okay? No, it's all about, excuse me, part of the negotiation and how to make it work. Yes, it's a bit stickier because as a buyer, the buyer agent has to work a little bit harder to guarantee their compensation. It's not gonna be automatically negotiated by the listing agent. Yes.
As a broker now, you're gonna be required in our paper files to audit the company, buyers, brokers, compensation. So on every transaction, from what date, so we can notify our transaction coordinators.
Not yet, it's not in effect yet. Most likely, buyer's broker agreement will be mandatory. Yeah, most likely January of next year. What I'm saying is, you wanna be one step ahead because you're only gonna get the questions right now. Start to educate your consumer, why? So then when they comment, right, you get those phone calls. So that's into the next question. That's what Kevin said about dual agency. Is it gonna eliminate dual agency? I think it's gonna boost dual agency over the top. If you ask me, don't quote me, that's the next big lawsuit. Okay,
Yeah.
not wishing for it, I'm just being rational.
That's what we're saying. That's what attorneys thrived on all these years.
But let me give you some insight, may I? Oh. If you're a listing agent and you got an exclusive right to sell for your seller, you owe fiduciary to who?
Seller.
Okay. Buyer runs into the house and say, all cash, 6 days, I'll give you my whatever, sign me up, represent you. Now you think for a second, oh my God, so I'm in the house, I can make 50K. Like, in 6 days, 7 days. Or, well, I'm confused, I have fiduciary to the seller, but this guy wanted to have fiduciary for them, because remember, I'm talking about future preference, you have to sign the buyer broker agreement. So now I have fiduciary to both, like, if you have split personality, like, who am I?
That's right.
So you need to make a decision. Now, I do not know, as a brokerage, I don't know if it's the God of NAR, the God of CAR, KW, I don't know if somehow, someday we'll say no to it. By the way, anybody knows, I don't know, how many states forbidding besides Texas dual agency?
There's only one.
The forbidding dual agency, right? Okay,
Yeah, they're in their transaction state, so that
they
they have a bigger problem.
that's a lot, correct, but so some states don't even allow you to do dual agency. Now, dual agency is a bit tricky, why? Kevin has a listing, Gary has a buyer, they go into escrow, is that dual agency? Yes, it is. It's under the same it is. Okay, it's dual agency. So what's confusing? Just simplify it, right? Kevin has a listing, buyer writes to Kevin, hey, I'm buying it, you're gonna represent both. Dual agency? Yes, but here is also like split personality. So Kevin can say, as an example, hey, Leanne, can you represent the buyer? Separate, it's a big dual agency anyways. Yeah, Kevin, I don't like you today. Okay, hey Gary, do you feel like work with my buyer? Here's take, that's a beyond the compensation, right? Set out the week, by the way, what the compensation is gonna be anyway. My point is, do your best to avoid split personality dual agency. That's how I want it.
How do you split the fiduciary? Who's the fiduciary do when you're representing both parties?
That's my point. Try to do your best to avoid split personality dual agency.
Yeah, but
Okay, so now we're not gonna require you yet, and this is gonna be kind of from the top, somehow, I don't know, but that's a good point to remember. So about that as well, that the other side, here, everybody are super legit, kosher, ethical, super uber talented realtors, we know that. Out there, maybe there are some other people that are not. So they're gonna be welcoming, also absolutely forget about the buyer's agents. Screw them. I'll only take 1.5%, and we don't need it. The buyer will come anyways, right? And then the buyer runs to them, and I'm sure I'll present you as well. Hey, so can pay me maybe extra this, but that, or maybe not. You might have those agents out there as well. Point number one, do not be this agent, okay? Because you're probably also gonna, we probably also, release your license to these brokerage agents if you're gonna practice unethically. Number two, we did one today, by the way, this morning. Number two is, we have to figure this out together, right? This whole transition. This is a pivoting moment in the market of the moment. Okay, this is not the market, this is the market of the moment. Tomorrow is going to be very, very different. Next year, even more. That's why I think this is exciting, because we are going to form a task force of our agents. We already have one in Long Beach. We're gonna finalize one over here and in PV, it's in the works right now. And those agents are people who sign with the contracts, involved with the CR, NER, perhaps, and also setting it enough one that they can understand the mechanism. And we're gonna create this task force to help you guys to better improve your skill set in scripts with buyers, scripts with sellers, social media, with understanding all the contracts, all those changes. We're gonna improve the listing presentation. We're gonna improve our create one for you guys, buyer presentation. Is that not gonna be helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna do it here locally, and then we're gonna tap between the other communities of those task forces to see how we can, learn from one another to really.
Is Gov Constitute gonna do a seminar on this?
So the funny thing with Gov, last Tuesday, we had him in our Long Beach office. He spoke about the most exciting thing, by the way, which is the new balcony inspection disclosure. Excited. And at the very end, like, oh, by the way, the NAR stuff, and what do you go to the meeting in January? We'll talk next year about that. To this there, what happened? So we only reached out to him yesterday to see if we can bring him, most likely because of schedule, to the PD office. We're gonna let you guys know so you can drive up there, right? Unless we can also somewhere maybe the board, what have you, but we're trying to get him, because right now he's being bombarded, right? So we're working hard to get him, as soon as next month, which is maybe like 2 weeks from now, to come and talk to us, right?
Probably all over this.
He is, but he knows as much as we do. Now you probably know as much as God knows,
Okay.
right? As of today, tomorrow I don't know, right?
So things change every day.
Exactly. So, but we're gonna walk this through together. Last recommendation is start to practice with your mentor, with your favorite co-agent in the office, with top producers about, and wherever, raise the hand again if you're using buyer broker agreements, raise the hand. Look around you first, keep it up, look around you, okay? Talk to those people, all right? Because they know, they're only one step ahead. Ask them the questions, right? If you feel like you don't have to do it, because you're gonna have to do it anyways. I would recommend to be one step ahead, start to execute today what will come anyway. Why? Because you have to also practice why you're so valuable and why you should work with me on the buyer side and on the seller side. So more to come. Thank you for listening.
And that's just a little tidbit, as we progress throughout the months, obviously, we will be on the forefront of this conversation and bringing you the latest updates as well. Okay, so it's fun stuff. I'm excited. And I just wrote, and I was talking to Brandon this morning when I arrived at the office, and I just put the thought as your next level of opportunity is what I wrote. Next level opportunity right here to embrace it. Buckle up, folks, because it's going to be fun. Okay. All right, let's continue. Obviously, I guess we're going to skip the vision speech for the sake of time. So let's go ahead and go to the listing pitches, buyer needs and wants. Any coming soon listings? Anyone that likes to pitch their listings? Anyone? Yes. Beautiful. Yes,
I have 2 listings in San Pedro, one commercial. It's a drive-through Portuguese restaurant, closed down for about 4 years, adjacent to the Wiener Schnitzel. It was around 700,000, and we just reduced it down. It was 795 before. I just reduced it down to 675. It's on a 3,800 square foot lot with a 1,000 square foot structure, and it's on Yakin, 228 North Yakin. And then I have the house right behind it, which is an LA R2 lot. And it's perfect for a builder. It dropped down the price from 695,000 up to 559. And I have comps at 550. Matter of fact, I had 3 offers cash on it. So one of our agents that she was with us, Paul Silva. So she has so we have a LA R2 lot, 5,000 square foot. It already has unapproved plans for 2 units and 2 ADUs. And there's also something new, and I want to tell everybody in LA City District, there's called JADU. It's called Junior ADUs. And it can be 400 square feet, it can be attached, it has to be attached to the house. But that's another way of getting another income property on these duplexes, and people are starting to do it. So, so if he goes out and builds this house, it's $250 a house, and to be built because there is streets, it's surrounded by a street and 2 alleyways. So this lot is very accessible, 675 West Sepulveda Street, San Francisco 559.
Thank you, Jim.
What's the bar petition?
It's all negotiable. Right now, it's 60%.
That's what I was gonna say. Awesome. Anyone else? Going once, Pat, yes.
Online.
I'm sorry. Pat, stand by. Yes, I'm Jim. Hello?
This is Derek Urano. I've got a hello. I've got a newer build Gardena townhome, 2016 build, 3-bed, 3-bath, move-in ready, coming live in a couple weeks. Probably pitch it around a 775.
Beautiful, awesome. Anyone else on Zoom? Pat, take it away.
I have a buyer made for Florence 3, 2+. Cul-de-sac would be great. Full house would be better. North if you have it. And we looked at brand new views, but he got like 10,000 options on it, so that one's fun. But we also have a Hawthorne townhome coming up, Route 2, double story. Not sure when it was purchased yet. And we have a 3-plex coming up in Old Florence. This one is really cool. It was owned by the founder of Primetime Bands that you see coming in and out of LAX. So we're settling as a state for them. It's an 8-bedroom 3-plex. It has so many cool things, including an elevator and a sauna. That's coming on the market in about 3 weeks. And I'm also part. That's going to be 1.6-ish, 1.7. I'm also still part of the CAR grievance for the state of California. So if you have questions in regards to grievance concerns, you can report to me. I can't, obviously do certain things, but I can kind of guide you in this. So anytime my agent in the state of California gets a claim against them, it actually comes to my desk. Whoa. And keep in mind that anything that violates the public trust is an immediate referral to the PRE, and I'm the one that has to do that. So again, if you have any questions in regards to your deals or grievance or ethics, great. What's that?
Awesome. Thanks, Pat. Anyone else? Yes.
So I'm going to shout out some of our listeners here with you too. So we
Stand up.
63rd.
Come up here to the front too, so everyone can hear you, my friend. Come on, we gotta put you on the spot. Go for it.
Yeah, 1563rd Ave, unit number 2. It's a 2-bed, 3-bath, 1,575 square foot townhome, about like 30 steps away from the beach. And it's listed for 1.289 million. Then we have Denker 4159 Denker Ave, 3-bed, 2.5 bath, 1,700 square foot property listed for 979,000. And then lastly, we have the upcoming listing here at 8781 Cazares Ave. It's a, just double check real quick. I'll skip that one, but it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, I think only 950 square foot property. And then buyer needs.
Sorry.
What happened?
Just under 1.1.
Okay, 1.8, okay, there we go. I added this, so that's why I was gonna shut that out. And then buyer needs is need help finding a multi-family home, quadruplex or triplex, or anybody has anything here in Los Angeles. One of my buyers under 750 or 800,000 mark with rental income coming in from that property for about like 3,000 per month. So looking for that as well.
Beautiful. Good job.
Slide, please.
Just quick reminders, upcoming events. Next slide, headshot, Thursday, March 21st, 11:30 to 1:30. If you want to update your shot, please make sure you register. Next slide. All right, learn how to master introduction calls to your new leads. That'll be Friday, March 22nd, realtors.com with UpCity. Next slide. Value two, if you're interested in helping your clients understand the value you bring to the table, please make sure you take a photo of this. Next slide. Homes.com, homes.com supercharging your success. Find out how. Lunch and learn Tuesday, March 26th, 12 to 1 p.m. I'll be here in the training room. Make sure you RSVP. Train the presenter, May 15th through the 16th. Materials and lunch will be provided, $250 again here in the training room if you're interested in getting that designation. Next slide. Just a quick reminder, make it count, guys. Please, if you're interested, Austin, Texas. That'll be August 12th through the 15th, early bird special, ends at the end of April 30th. So please register now. All right, next slide. All right. That concludes our meeting. We talked about